In my last video, I shared with you my top 10 picks on who I think is going to win the Heisman in 2021. For this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some sleeper picks though. Guys who aren't really considered favorites, but I think have a solid chance of potentially taking home the award in 2021. Before we get to today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to the channel. If you love college football content, then this is definitely the place for you. Now, this video isn't going to be in any order or anything, but these are just 10 players with really good odds who I think stand a chance of winning the Heisman. If you watched my last video, this is a guy who I have in my top 10 of players who I think can win, but I have him in my sleepers video because the odds are so low, and that's Liberty quarterback Malik Willis. On DraftKings, his current odds of winning are 40 to 1. He had a fantastic season for the Flames in 2021, and I think he'll be even better this year. In 2020, he threw for 2,200 yards with 20 passing touchdowns, while rushing for just under 1,000 yards with 14 rushing touchdowns. He also did this in only 10 games, so he's going to have a couple more games under his belt this year to enhance those numbers. This is a guy that many experts think can be a first rounder in next year's NFL draft. With a full season, I can easily see Willis throwing for 3,000 yards while rushing for 1,000 yards with at least 40 combined touchdowns. Last season was a historic one for Liberty, and I expect them to be just as good in 2021. Now, the only problem for Malik Willis is the fact that the Flames play absolutely nobody. Their only chance of potentially playing a top 25 team is when they play Louisiana at the end of the season. If he has any hope of potentially winning the Heisman, he's going to have to put up insane numbers and have Liberty just dominate and blow out every single opponent they play. Up next is a player who I really wanted to have in my top 10, but he just missed the cut. Arizona State quarterback Jaden Daniels. He's currently listed at 40 to 1 odds to win the award as well. I've said this for months, but he's truly one of the most underrated quarterbacks in all of college football. In his first 16 games as the starting quarterback for the Sun Devils, he's thrown for 3,600 yards with 22 passing touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. He's also added 600 yards on the ground with 7 rushing touchdowns. Now, this may be sort of a hot take, but I think Arizona State has a chance to be competing for the Pac-12 title this year. If a miracle happens and they win the Pac-12 and Jaden Daniels puts up great numbers, look for him to be in contention for the Heisman Trophy. This next one is going to be tough because he isn't even the favorite from his own team. Iowa State quarterback Brock Purdy is currently 50 to 1 odds to win it all. Purdy can definitely put up some great numbers and lead the Cyclones to a Big 12 title appearance, but it's going to be tough having running back Breece Hall, who I actually had in my top 10 favorites video. Now, it's difficult when you have a duo from the same school because they often will take votes away from each other, which very well is going to happen this year. During Purdy's Cyclones career, he's thrown for 9,000 yards with 62 passing touchdowns while adding nearly 1,000 yards on the ground with 18 rushing touchdowns. He'll definitely be deserving, but where will the voters give the edge? If Breece Hall doesn't have a great season or maybe gets hurt, Purdy could really provide some good value. The next player on our list is Ole Miss quarterback Matt Corral, who is currently listed at 20 to 1 odds. This will be a very tough one as I don't expect the Rebels to be competing for the SEC title this year, but hey, who knows, anything can happen. He put up great numbers in only 10 games last year as he threw for over 3,300 yards with 29 passing touchdowns while rushing for over 500 yards with 4 rushing touchdowns. He had some really bad games though, but for the most part, he was very good for Ole Miss. He's a guy who easily could lead college football in passing yards or passing touchdowns in 2021, so definitely he's a name to keep an eye on if you're into college football fantasy. The numbers for him are definitely going to be there, but as I mentioned, the only question is whether or not Ole Miss is going to win at least 9 games in 2021, because I think that's the number that they're going to have to hit to put him under strong consideration. We'll get to our first running back on this list, a guy who a lot of people think has a strong chance to win the Heisman this year. Texas running back Bijan Robinson, who's currently listed at 20 to 1 odds, which is actually right next to Breece Hall. If you want to take a shot at a running back winning it, Robinson is probably one of your best bets. In very limited action last season, he rushed for 700 yards while averaging more than 8 yards a carry. He had 4 rushing touchdowns along with 15 catches for 200 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. He really started getting more opportunities near the end of the season, and boy was he capitalizing. Over the final month, he rushed for over 110 yards against West Virginia while averaging 9 yards a carry. Against Kansas State, he rushed for 170 yards with 3 rushing touchdowns on only 9 carries, while adding 3 catches for 50 yards. Then against Colorado in the Alamo Bowl, he rushed for 180 yards with a touchdown on only 10 carries, while also having 2 receiving touchdowns. If he can put up numbers like that over the course of a full season, Robinson very easily could be your best bet to be a running back that's going to win the Heisman. If you're going to take a shot on a running back winning, another option and more valuable option is Texas A&M running back Isaiah Spiller. He's currently listed at 50 to 1 odds, so it's definitely a gamble, but it could pay off big time. In 23 games over the last 2 seasons, Spiller has rushed for over 2,000 yards with 19 rushing touchdowns. He's also added 49 catches for 400 yards in the passing game as well. He has 10 games in his career with at least 100 rushing yards and 13 games with at least a rushing touchdown. I don't think there's going to be any other players on Texas A&M who are going to be in the running for the Heisman, so as long as the Aggies are in contention for an SEC title spot and a playoff spot, Spiller is likely going to be the frontrunner on this Texas A&M team. Up next is a player who has himself some history with the Heisman, Florida State quarterback McKenzie Milton. As of right now, he has no odds at all on DraftKings, which is kind of odd. When healthy, Milton has proven that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country. He's also finished in the top 8 of Heisman voting twice in his career. He finished 8th in voting back in 2017 and then 6th in 2018. Obviously, we all know about his injury that nearly ended his football career, but it's been almost 3 years since we last saw him take the field, and I think he's ready. Milton now is going to lead the way for Florida State, which is definitely going to help his Heisman campaign compared to when he was at UCF. The numbers are likely going to be there for him, but it's all going to come down to how good Florida State is in 2021. If he's able to put up numbers similar to the ones he did at UCF and the Seminoles are in the running for an ACC title appearance, Milton very likely will have the best Heisman finish of his career. We'll stay on the topic of UCF quarterbacks and talk about their starter, Dillon Gabriel. He's currently listed at 50 to 1 odds. He's been putting up some incredible numbers for the Knights over the last few seasons, but he never seems to get any Heisman love. Through his first 2 years at UCF, he's thrown for 7,200 yards with 61 passing touchdowns. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country over the last 2 years, but he seems to be underappreciated. Over the course of a full season, Gabriel was on pace last year for more than 4,000 yards and 40 passing touchdowns. If he's able to stay healthy in 2021, he's likely going to be breaking single-season records for the Knights. Again, this is all going to come down to UCF season. With them being a group of 5 school, they'll have to play nearly perfect. It's going to be tough, and it seems like the only chance they'll have of winning is if UCF goes undefeated. Well, it's certainly possible. We're going to talk about another group of 5 quarterback with a chance to win, this one being Desmond Ridder of Cincinnati. He's currently listed at 33 to 1 odds. He's been great for the Bearcats over the years, but was especially good last year while almost leading Cincinnati to an undefeated season. In 2020, he threw for 2,300 yards with 19 passing touchdowns, while adding 600 yards on the ground with 12 rushing touchdowns. He's one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the entire country. The good thing for Ridder is that Cincinnati is going to be good yet again, and they're likely going to be in the college football playoff hunt. If he wants to stand a chance of winning though, he's going to have to get those numbers up. He was great last year, but 3,000 total yards and 30 touchdowns likely isn't going to get the job done. With this being his final season at Cincinnati, he's going to have to go out with a bang. Our final sleeper on this list is a quarterback who will finally be getting an opportunity to show what he can do as a full-time starter, and that's Florida quarterback Emery Jones. He's currently listed at 33 to 1 odds. Jones has spent the last 3 years as the backup quarterback for the Gators, and now he'll finally have his chance. During his brief stints over the years, he's thrown for 600 yards with 7 touchdowns while rushing for 500 yards with 6 touchdowns. Emery Jones has a chance to be one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the nation, and he'll have a great shot to do it with all the weapons surrounding him at Florida. This is one player I feel can be a really big hit or miss. I could see his season going 2 different ways, and I wouldn't be surprised with either. He could be really damn good and put up some crazy numbers for Florida, or he could be just really underwhelming, and I look silly for making this pick. But I'm going to take a chance and go with the first option. Well, there are my 10 sleeper picks for players who could potentially win the Heisman in 2021. Was there a player that I didn't mention that you think is a huge sleeper in 2021? If so, drop a comment down below and share with me your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to the channel. If you love college football content like this, then this is definitely the place for you. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.